Hi, this is Brian with the Retirement Network and your first quarter 2020 update. And remember, at the Retirement Network, we try to reach client goals with the least amount of risk possible. Okay, well, this is a presidential election year, and as you can imagine, we've been receiving a lot of questions about presidential election year risk. So we're going to dive into those questions and provide some answers. So here we go. 3 main questions we've received. Number 1, what should I expect from a presidential election year? Number 2, and that's the most common, by the way. Number 2, do I change my investments and my investment strategy? And number 3, do I change my entire plan, my financial plan? That third one, we really won't know until after the presidential election is over, but we can dive into the first 2 and provide some answers there. Those answers revolve around a few things. They touch on fiscal policy, on behavior of markets during presidential election years, and good old-fashioned fundamentals. So fiscal policy is really just the amount that the government, being the president and Congress, they set this, how much they tax and spend and regulate businesses and consumers. And right now we have a pro-growth style fiscal policy. That is lower taxes, lower regulations that tends to spur economic growth, which we are seeing right now. If that were to change, that could be a risk to the markets. Certainly if a new president were to come in and that was a higher tax, higher regulate president in a fiscal policy, that could be a drag on the economy and the markets. Next, we have market behavior during presidential election years, and a lot of people ask about this topic. And believe it or not, there are investment strategies around presidential election years. The most common is from the Stock Traders Almanac, that is the presidential election cycle theory. And here's the bottom line with these. The market simply doesn't like uncertainty. And in a presidential election year, of course, uncertainty is higher because we don't know if a new president is going to come in, change the fiscal policy to stay with the current president and the fiscal policy. And how do businesses plan for this? And how do investors plan if businesses can't plan? So these years tend to see volatility because of the uncertainty around the markets. Third item, good old-fashioned fundamentals, and this is really where the answer is. The reality is that the president does not control the markets. The president tries to influence fiscal policy, get it passed through Congress, and fiscal policy does impact the markets, but so does entrepreneurship, so do consumers, and so does the Federal Reserve with monetary policy. And right now, we have a pro-growth fiscal policy, we have a very healthy consumer, and we have a Federal Reserve that is also pro-growth and keeping interest rates low. On the fundamentals, markets right now look a little bit overvalued. Not very highly overvalued, a bit overvalued. And markets tend to revert to fair value over time. Now that means volatility. That volatility could be up or down, but right now because markets are overvalued, we would expect a little bit of a downward volatility, if you will, and also potentially even a market correction. Now I say correction, not a bear. Make sure you hear me there. Corrections are normal and they're an expected part of investing. So to wrap this up, a change in fiscal policy is potentially a risk, but we won't know that until after the election. Market behavior in election years is really about uncertainty. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. Fundamentals and valuations are still the place to look and to pay attention to. And because we use high quality, highly competitive, conviction-creating investments and know that market corrections are normal, we are able to stick through years like this, stick to our plan and our investment strategy. Also, rely on your financial advisor to help you through this. They'll help you see the forest through the trees. Okay, keep an eye out for our second quarter update. And remember, at the Retirement Network, we try to reach client goals with the least amount of risk possible. Thanks for watching.